oh, what was the name of her show? Democracy Now! And then also later making an appearance on, I believe it was Colbert. Is that right? I'll have to double check that. I'm sorry. Raj Patel came out saying many things about sharing, about how forgiveness was the crucial ingredients here, and that the world had to realize that we were one system. I agreed with everything Raj Patel had to say. Actually, when I looked into his eyes, I felt that he was very sincere. And of course I would expect that of a Maitreya or a Messiah. Well, Raj Patel is a very interesting character, and I intend to dig deeper into him as well. But what has happened is that there were certain signs and symbols that were supposed to lead to the appearance of Maitreya, one being a star. So as you go and you look at the different videos on Maitreya, the most recent being on Red Ice Creations, and you might want to catch my interview I just did with Henrik. It's up on my YouTube. And the second half for that, you'll have to subscribe to Red Ice Creations, which I highly recommend. They're a great couple of guys there and worth listening to, and their interviews are fantastic. I love Henrik. So as you start to look, you'll see the video where they start to say that the star is appearing all over the globe. People are seeing it from Moscow to America. Now, immediately I noticed an interesting pattern with this star. Okay, so go have a look at the video. It is in the Space War News. Have a look at the star, and then go down where I have a link saying Maitreya's star with a question mark. Because, once again, what I've always wanted to do for you is bring to you my memories, bring to you what I know. And that there was a lot going on that I was paying attention to back in the 90s that are coming to light now that most people weren't paying attention to. Like I was saying, people are laughing at me about Milosevic. Well, back at that same time, there was a project that the Russians had launched called the Novi Svet, or the New Light experiment, which was launched February 5th, 1999. This can be found as the Znamya. That's Znamya 2.5, the Znamya experiment, or the New Light experiment, where Russia launched in 1988 their first giant mirror up into space. Then the 2.5 came out in 1999, not to get you confused there. So there have been a couple of attempts to get a giant mirror up into space, and you will of course find this in my HARP video. This giant mirror, or the New Light experiment, was of course supposed to radiate sunlight back to the Earth, warming regions in Siberia for agriculture was of course the plan. And you know, this is right about the time that 007's GoldenEye was coming out. So, and this was also the very moment that they were announcing that global warming might be a reality. I don't know if you guys remember all the way back then when they were still questioning this. So the Space Regatta Consortium of Russia launches a giant mirror up into space. They try for 3 days to get the fan to open so that then they could radiate sunlight back down onto Earth. And after 3 days of attempts, they say that it had completely failed and they were just going to burn it up in the atmosphere. You can find later details from the Russians themselves saying that that's okay, we'll then just put it on the International Space Station. Which the Endeavour is right now launching up there to bring the new robotics control center to the ISS. This is all getting very scary, and we're going to get into robots and all of the Metropolis ideas on a later Radio Freeman. Today I want to tell you about new capitals and end-of-the-world scripts, the coming and rising of messiahs, and the technologies that might be used to fool us all. So when you start to look at that Maitreya's star, you will see the pattern, and I'll do this soon. I'll superimpose the very mirror over that star, and you'll see that they are in the same form. So let's not believe yet in this Maitreya's star, the new star of Bethlehem, as it were. Let's first consider that it might be the Space Regatta Consortium's New Light experiment. So we have to keep this stuff in mind. We have to remember Echelon. We have to remember the New Light experiment. We have to remember the accusations of earthquake machines and all of that, so that things become more and more understandable. But are they understandable when we start to see giant orbs floating in and out of the sun through the SOHO satellite? This was something that was actually talked about by Nassim Haramein, and now seems to be coming true. Is our sun possibly a gateway? Now, you'll see the photographs that I have from 1999 up there from the SOHO satellite. I took those myself, took them off the web myself, the SOHO satellite, and you'll see giant portals, or what seem to be some sort of portal or weirdness opening up out of the sun and radiating some sort of beam. Very curious, very, very curious. And at that same time, we were watching something called the Sun Cruiser, which I think you can probably still look up, which seemed to be a giant, massive craft floating outside of the sun. Now we are getting many reports about these orbs opening and coming out of the sun. Meanwhile, what is going on in Somalia and Yemen? Now, as I covered earlier on the radio shows, you can go back to the archives. I hope you guys are all downloading Radio Freeman to your iPods, iTunes, and everything else, so that you can listen to all of these shows at your leisure. I do have all the links there for you to do so over on freemantv.com. So I had reported to you when the Ethiopian Catholic Church had announced that they housed the true Ark of the Covenant, and that they were going to release it to the public, let everyone know this was the true Ark, and that he had to go and speak with the Pope first. Next thing we know, he returns from the Pope, and he is saying, well, I never told you I was going to show the Ark of the Covenant to the public, but I still want to say that we do have the true Ark of the Covenant here in Ethiopia. Then we get later reports, this is months down the road, we get a Proto-Canaanite shard found, which establishes that the Ark of the Covenant most likely would be found in Yemen. Next thing we know, America is all rushing to Yemen and going to war in Yemen. Now, in 1980s, we had the first magnetic anomaly announced there in that port off of Yemen, off Somalia, and that this magnetic anomaly was actually reestablishing our understanding for plate tectonics. There are even images of vortex ocean openings there, which I can't confirm just yet, so I'll be looking deeper into that. But if you all remember, what sent all of the different ships from NATO, from the US, from the UK, from China, the list goes on as to everyone heading to Somalia into this port. Well, if you remember, it was all due to piracy. And when you realize that the pirates were taking on the Sirius star, then all of the clues start to come back together, and we see coded messages once again being passed to the Brotherhood so that they know where they need to be. So, what is going on there? What is it that we are entering into? What is it that is guiding this Brotherhood in their secret knowledge as they misguide us through their ritual magic and casting of demons in front of us, such as Barack Obama? We don't know, but we know the world is strange. We know that at this point we're moving from we've gone from a theocracy to a democracy, now into a technocracy. We see as they start to establish this Terminator salvation, or life on planet Earth thanks to robots, and like I say, I'll be getting more and more into that in the coming weeks. But we are watching the technocracy as it forms around us, as they launch all their necessary means, and they are using certain politics to say that this is necessary. Of course, I was able to predict that Obama would cancel the funding to NASA because it was obvious, anyone that's been listening to me was not taken by surprise by this announcement. We're going to SpaceX, we're going to the Dragons, we're going to Lockheed Martin and Boeing. No more will there be a national space program. Privatization is the key word here, and corporatocracy is fascism. Let's know where we're at. So as the guidestones tell us in Georgia that we need to maintain the population at 500 million, let's realize that maintain means that they were already down to 500 million. So what is going to happen? We don't know. We know we can see the signs, and I'm going to keep trying to track them. But what we do know is that everything that we do believe at this point is false. We do know that the systems that we think we are trying to save, the super, put trillions of dollars here and trillions of dollars